Welcome to Permission to Kick Ass, a podcast about leaving self-doubt in the dust, punching fear in the face, and taking bold action toward your biggest dreams. I'm Angie Coley, and let's get to it. Well, hey there, everyone, and welcome to another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass. With me today is my friend, Patrick Kenney. Say hello to everyone, Patrick.
Hello, everyone. Coming to you live from Lexington, Kentucky. Hey, Angie, thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm just cracking up because nobody here is going to be able to see this, but like I'm watching you on video, like speaking into your microphone all smooth. You're like a radio personality. Oh, we have so much fun. It's too bad you guys will never, ever get to see the video for all of these. They're secret archives.
You got to pay for that kind of access, right?
If I actually ever saved the video, I probably would have to have people pay for access, but oh man, it's so good having you on. It's been a while since we talked actually. And then before we got on the call, you were telling me some super cool stuff about what's happened in your business. And I mean, well, on the surface, some of it is not very cool at all, but how you recovered from it was pretty awesome. So tell everybody a little bit about what has happened to you in 2020 and the lessons you learned.
Well, the Instagram version is that I made $10 billion and then I moved to Fiji and my Lamborghini is no, I'm kidding. So it's just funny. It's been a year since we were in Austin together at our supergroup meetup. Mm-hmm. And around that time, so for your listeners, I'm a Google guy. It's kind of the most general term that I would say. I've done Google ads for years and years and years, computer science background. So I get all geeky on pay-per-click and CPAs and all the fun little acronyms that people are like, huh? Does that mean business? And you and Melanie really helped me before that. Let's see, I think it was right before Copy Chief Live, we did the RFL group, and you and Melanie Warren, our other friend in the group, helped me really dial into, hey, you should really focus on this YouTube thing. You're getting pretty fantastic results for you on YouTube. You should do more of that. So around that time last year, beginning right before they shut down everything, we had that meetup. And without getting into like the full Tolkien version of the handwritten manuscript of The Hobbit, I had a business endeavor where I was a partner in a local gym a few years prior to, when we had that meetup in Austin. And a long story, slightly longer, I ended up getting dragged into a lawsuit when my former partner went bankrupt, folded the business, decided to stop paying rent, still had 2.5 years of rent due on this 5-year lease. I had been legally signed out of it and everything. Anyway, powers that be what they are, got dragged into a lawsuit, had hired an attorney to represent me, and they threw out the paperwork where I was legally signed off of the lease where I should not have had any liability. Anyway, I ended up settling that lawsuit and paying 6 figures plus, and, had to take that out of some retirement. So that kind of sucked a bit. And this was right around the time the whole COVID thing was starting to unfold. And the clients were like, yeah, we don't want to pay you anymore right now. So we will be holding. And if you'd like to change that to any other accent for posterity, feel free to do so. But hey, this is who I am. You know that. But anyway, clients are going like, yeah, it's really good. That like $100,000 you're getting us in revenue every month. We just want to go ahead and stop all that and stop paying you till we see what's going on in the world. So I had this cataclysm of events where I'm just kind of like going downstairs to Sherry going, how much rice do we have? Right. And it was, I'm making light of it, but it sucked a lot. It really did. You and I had a conversation. I had to stop, some of the things that I was paying for, one of them being in the group that we were in. And I remember speaking with you and Kevin, and man, it took a toll on me. Like it hit me hard, not just financially, but just kind of the betrayal of, I went into this business, I gave it my all, and I got pushed out of it anyway. And, and there's something that we were talking about offline is that had I not mentally prepared myself years before, I probably would have gone the, forget you, I'm going to fight you tooth and nail, and probably would have still been paying legal bills, 12 months later. Instead, I mean, I made the choice to pay that thing off and put it behind me. And I'll tell you, it was one of the best things that I've ever done because, you know, it was, I said this to you earlier, that happened for me. It didn't happen to me. So that whole experience was just a fortification of my personality, and just, it's really a test. You always think you think you're going to be a certain way when you go through a trial like that. You hope you're going to be a certain way. And you're like, yeah, if this ever happens, I'm going to do that. And then it hits you and you respond that way. And it's vilifying of the situation, but it's also validating of oneself when you're like, okay, I've fortified my mindset and I've actually put it on the test track and it did what I designed it to do. And I tell the story to you because it really has made me think, especially in the last 12 months, it hasn't really changed who I am, but it has altered how much bullshit I put up with.
Yeah.
You know, and in the best way possible, to where if I don't feel like someone is ready to work with me, I tell them like, hey, you know, this all sounds great and I know you're ready to go, but you're not. So talk to me in 6 months.
Yeah.
So how I dealt with that, it was serendipitous and perfectly timed with the shitstorm that was COVID. But I mean, here I am 12 months later and I'm kind of thankful it happened. I am thankful it happened.
Yeah. I mean,
that sounds.
I'm hearing so much great stuff there, and I kind of want to unpack that a little bit. So I'm hearing a couple things. One was that you were prepared for this, and this is something I rant about, I think, at length, especially in my book. I call it an FU fund, and FU stands exactly for what it sounds like it stands for. and I cannot overstate the critical nature of having something in savings for an event like this. Do you need to have $126,000 in the bank? Not necessarily, but you need to have enough to float you comfortably for a couple of months so that you have bought yourself the freedom to walk away from any relationship or project that's not actually serving you without freaking out that you're not going to be able to eat and wandering downstairs go, where's the rice?
Where's
How much
the rice?
do we have? So there's that, right? Being a little bit financially prepared. And I'm glad that we're telling this story because on the surface, it seems really scary. And for the entrepreneurs that are listening, they would probably be a little bit, why would I even want to start a business if this is one of the potential outcomes? But the key takeaway I want them to have was that because you were financially prepared and you had the mindset in place to deal with this and to recover from it and use it to keep moving forward. Like the critical thing that I want the listeners to take away from this, if you're listening to this, is that Patrick didn't advocate the pitchfork mob approach, which is something that I see happening a lot in creative communities. And it's so wonderful now that we have communities where we can gather together and talk about experiences. Is this normal? Is this am I experiencing something really weird? Help give me some perspective. But the danger in that sometimes is the pitchfork mob, like I said, where somebody pissed me off and I'm just going to go scorched earth on these people and I'm going to make them rue the day that they ever decided to do something to me. And I don't know about you, but what I heard in your story, Patrick, was that it was worth $126,000 to you to not give them a year of your time and your anxiety and your fury and your frustration and just be able to, close that door on it gently, walk away from it, and then focus on the next thing that you needed to do to recover and grow whole and rebound from that experience. Would you agree with that?
100%. It's, mentally chalking things up to a learning experience is a very powerful exercise. And I looked at that as, okay, I paid $126,000 tuition in the college of life. And there are certain do's and don'ts that, again, this was a 5-year lease. I mean, if you do the math, I was still in my early 30s when we started that business. And, I probably still had a decent level. I'd been humbled before on this. I wasn't as arrogant then as I was in my 20s. And I just think that's inherent of most, especially guys. I mean, I know it happens with ladies as well, but the arrogance level that I had in my 20s and my early 30s, it just doesn't exist anymore. And I was already in transition, I believe, but it was still one of those things where, I mean, the whole choice to go into the gym was born out of a health issue. That's another story for another time, not for myself, but for my better half. But that choice was born out of a serendipitous intersection of, this is going to help people on a health, and it did what it was intended, but it was also this like persnickety, it's like an unfortunate series of unfortunate events. Right. And then it just kind of fell apart. But if I'd gone the pitchfork mob model on this, it would still be robbing me of the joy that I've had and cultivated even more. When we went into lockdown, we had great times with the boys and with Sherry, and just, we always been a close family, but really we enjoyed the time that we were forced to have together and blessed with. And by fortifying my mental state against, okay, I look at this as a thank you note to the universe that I'm paying for this thank you note for the lesson that I've learned, in that my kids got to observe how I was in that. And I explained to them why I was frustrated and fearful and concerned. And they walked with me in every step of that. And I can't put a price on that. I even had my boys, even in the midst of not knowing where this was going to go, I had my boys praying for, I won't say the gentleman's name, but the landlord, pray that his greed would be eased, because he's holding too tightly to money and not looking at the relationships with people. And I said, guys, regardless of what happens, we need to pray for him that his heart would be changed, because he's in the wrong, regardless of that outcome. And then when it came that we lost and I had to pay and settle, they got to see me walk through that. And imagine if I'd gone, eye for an eye, if I'd gone Old Testament with them and they observed that, what price would my boys pay for that example, even if I did win the lawsuit,
That's such a great approach too. I mean, there are a lot of schools of thought that to run your own business, you got to be tough, right? And you got to set boundaries, and you got to establish like you're the expert and they're paying you. And to a certain extent, that is true, right? If somebody is engaging with me, if they've become my client, I want them to trust me. I want them to feel comfortable with me. I want to be able to like be myself, drop F-bombs if I need to, all that loving kick-assness that I love to do with my clients. But I never want this to be an adversarial, like, look who's the boss here, right, kind of situation. And especially when there's been a miscommunication or there are some hurt feelings, which is inevitable in just about every relationship out there. Some of my best friends I've fought tooth and nail with, and we've recovered. That's the nature of relationships. But when I am mad and when I'm upset, I try these days to kind of pull myself out of my head a little bit, not go to that pitchfork mob echo chamber, right? And think, this reaction that I want, I so want to go scorched earth and I want to burn them and I want to make them hurt. I'm lashing out. Would I be proud of this if this got to my grandmother, to my mom? If this went out into the media, would I totally own this behavior and say, yeah, I'm in the wrong, screw that guy? Like most of the time when I ask myself that question, like when this rage has calmed down a little bit, would I be proud of this reaction? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. So like doing exactly what you said, forcing yourself to disengage, to spend that time with your family, to think about it from the other person's perspective and figure out like, okay, I'm going to send good vibes his way and hope that he gets through this too. I think that's all fantastic. And I bet it paid off dividends in your creativity when you got back to the ads.
It did. And that's a good segue into some of the connections that I love to share in hopes, and if this just helps one person get out of their state of overwhelm to where they can focus on it, then it's worth the time. Of course, I always enjoy speaking with you, but pouring this out, even if just one person listens to this and goes, yeah, you know what? I'm actually going to change the way I'm going to talk to this client or this person, because as much as we were not at fault and I'd covered all my bases in that business, you need to have legal protection. You need to have a business entity for whatever endeavor you're in. You need to do all that you can to prepare. But I think what people miss is they don't prepare for the calamity that will happen, and they're not mentally fortified to look at it as, okay, this is happening for me, and the way is through this. And it's, when you recognize it and you've forged that steel armor around you where you're like, I recognize you. We're at battle right now. And I've been listening to this Bible in a year, and it's excerpts every day for about 10 minutes. And there was one a few days ago, which was all we go through are cycles of battles and blessings. And when we're in a blessing cycle, people think it's never going to end, right? And when you're in a battle cycle, people think it's never going to end. But if you understand and you're fortified that you're going to go through those cycles, then you start to recognize when a battle's approaching and you've already prepared for that. Then you go, okay, I know you. I know that there are better things on the other side. So what was born out of that was, number one, completely separate to what I do. That gym was completely separate entity to what I do for clients. What I do with clients is I'm very direct in that say, look, you are paying for my perspective. I love what I do. I don't control Google. I just know what they do better than most people. And I'm giving my perspective in a system that I know works. And whenever you feel that I'm no longer of value to you, then we need to be done. And clients love that. Right. Yeah. And that's born out of, and this is something we talked about offline is, and I'll say this directly to those entrepreneurs in their 20s and 30s. If you're seeing the ads for like the 2 comma club boards and those, Lamborghinis and the jets and all that bullshit that you see on there, I can tell you right now, you don't want that. You don't want all the headache. We all have problems. We just want better problems. Right. So not having enough money is a problem. Well, when you have more money, you have to pay taxes. And when you have more money, then you have to hire employees and pay payroll and deal with all that stuff. Right. Good problems to have because the benefits of it are the payoff. But I think the number one goal for anyone in their 20s and 30s, that fortification we're talking about, going through the cycles of battles and blessing, is to murder your arrogance. And it's funny, I'm kind of, who was it? His book is probably on my shelf here. I got it at Copy Chief Live. He signed it for me. Where is it? Roy Peter Clark. And his book, Murder Your Darlings, right? Great book. Fantastic.
It's a good one.
And it's kind of the same thing. It's like murder your arrogance. He's talking about your pet projects, whatever. But I think when you're in your 20s and 30s, your goal should not be to make $100,000 or, make a 7-figure agency overnight with a 2-step funnel, right? Or, get the 2 comma club award. You're not ready for that. You're not ready for all the responsibility that comes for that. There are the rare that are. Again, I'm not judging. I'm just speaking from my own experience and people that I've spoken with, and you agree with me when we were talking offline, is when you're in your 20s and 30s, the primary goal should be the death of your arrogance. You should murder it. You should take it out to the backwoods and beat the shit out of it and shoot it repeatedly with the bazooka until it's dead. Because until you have a humbling experience that just destroys your level of, and I'm not talking about confidence. I'm talking about arrogance, that swagger to where you see some of these ads, you know what I'm talking about, right? You see some of those ads where they're just like, check out the cash and the Rolex and all that, right?
I know all, I see all, I'm always right. I'm never wrong. When I'm coaching writers and creatives, and usually when there's a client problem or a communication issue or something like that, I ask them, is this the hill you want to die on?
Brilliant. Yes.
Really, is this really the place where you're ready to, nope, this is it. I stick my flag in it. My whole life depends on this thing. And usually when I say that, they're like, oh, well, no, I mean, it's not that serious. I'm like, yeah, but you just kind of stepped back and let your anger and your ego into the driver's seat there. And it was about to drive you straight into a wall. I'm telling you.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I have never met a wealthy person that didn't sacrifice some more valuable intrinsic relationship or opportunity, whether that's to become a parent earlier so they can enjoy more time with their kids. I mean, if they're honest with themselves, these guys that are out there crushing it, and kudos to them, they put their focus on that.
Yeah.
I put my focus on my family and having the balance of income so that I can still enjoy, you talk about the FU fund. I work very, very hard and I live well below my means. And that's why we were able to again, I don't want to take too many hits like that, but that's what it's there for. if I have to do that? When we went into that gym, yes, it was a risk, but we knew that if the worst case scenario came true, we would be able to cover it. Now, that was a terrible case. It wasn't the worst possible case we had planned for, still sucked, but we were prepared for it. And when this level of arrogance that most of these 20 and 30-year-old entrepreneurs have, because they see these ads, I'm so glad I'm not, my mid-20s seeing all of this, the Facebook ads and all that, all the different funnel this and funnel that, because it would be harder. And I urge anyone listening, if you're attracted to that, take a step back, disconnect from the world and think, do you really want the Tesla? Do you really want, all the clothes and the watch? And if you truly do, nothing wrong with that. But if you're honest with yourself, I'm betting that's not the case. Because I'll tell you what's on the other side of that. The other side of that is the clients I have right now, I have had like my client cycle is like all of them came back with the exception of 2 small clients. Every single one of them came back. And back when we were going back to before COVID and right around the time COVID hit, everyone kind of paused and it was like, sky's falling and I'm getting sick, right? It was within like 60 days that, it was March 14th, I think, is when all the COVID lockdowns happened. 60 days after that, all of them were back up and running.
Well, and the cool thing about that I want to point out for people listening, right, is that's another ego thing too, because I'm betting that they came back because you didn't, when they asked to press pause, go, you motherfucker, we got a contract. You owe me money. You're screwing my kids by doing this. Like, how dare you? You didn't let the ego and the feeling trash those relationships in a moment of stress. Right. And so when the moment of stress passed, that trust and that relationship was still there. It was still solid. And they were like, okay, freak out over. I'm back. Right. I'm ready to do this. And you picked up as if nothing happened.
That is dead on 100%. It was one of, and that's kind of like when I was talking to you, I took this approach of, I'm just going to take this for the humbling experience that it is and have trust that we're going to be fine. Because even when I paid the lawsuit, we were still fine. We were still fine. And that's one of the things, like, I do think that should be the primary goal, is to get to a financial safety net, living well below your means, to where you're like, okay, I have flexibility to figure out what I want to do, or I'm prepared for 6 months of, okay, like, holy shit. Right. And when the clients came back, it was because I did have those conversations with them when they were like, hey, we need to put things on hold. I was like, okay, guys, totally understand it. A lot of craziness in the world. If you need anything in the meantime, obviously we're going to, when you acknowledge your realities, like, look, it was easy, to not put on, I hate the term like fake it till you make it, because it's such bullshit. If you're authentic with people and you show up in your truest nature of humility and wanting to serve, I believe that to be the perfect recipe for success. Because, I'm joking in these emails with clients going like, hey, if the world's still here when things start to pick up, I'm gonna be sitting home watching Netflix, drinking wine like everybody else, right? And we had some laughs, and I stayed in touch. About every week or two, I was connecting like, hey, just checking in, see if I need to give you guys anything, how has the family, you guys safe, just real personal connections. And it paid off. And here's the funny thing, Angie, like, I had some clients I've had for 7 and 8 years, and they've become good friends, and they checked in on me with the whole lawsuit thing, because that's the kind of relationship that I have with them. And not like I wasn't like volunteering it, but in our conversations, it was, I don't wear my heart on my sleeve, but when you're talking to somebody and something's wrong, most people can pick up on that. Yeah. And I had one client, he was just like, hey man, he's a brilliant surgeon in Chicago, has become a really good friend. And that's why I haven't raised his rates in like forever, but because he's just a really good dude. I mean, we do great work for him and whatnot, but the relationships matured, and he was one, he called me and he's like, hey man, I'm sending everybody home because we can't do any procedures. I mean, and he's got this practice in Michigan Avenue, he's actually a unique guy. He's one of the most humble, brilliant plastic surgeons you'll ever meet, because most of those guys have a big ego. He doesn't. He's just a really good dude, good family guy. And he was just like, are you okay? I was like, I've been better. He goes, come on, dude, what's going on? He kind of dug a bit. And I was like, well, I'm dealing with this. And he's like, dude, I'm so sorry. He goes, man, as soon as we're back open, we'll get up and go. And he's like, if you need anything in the meantime. And, that wasn't the only client conversation I had like that. And that's what I'm talking about. When you murder your arrogance and you really show up in a way, again, it takes practice to know the line of being too friendly and too nice. I tell people, like, know the difference between nice and kind. Nice is just like, okay, I'm gonna let you waste 3 hours of my time. And I'm just gonna sit here and go, uh-huh. Kind is going like, hey, that's a fascinating story. I really have to be somewhere, but let's catch up another time, right?
Yeah.
Only like, that's the difference between nice and kind. But it was just one of those things where I felt a very personal connection with my clients because I showed up in a kind and serving way. And again, I know my worth and I know what I need to charge, and I'm not going to say yes to like pennies, but having to have that whole like veil of, we're two separate entities. It's human to human connection. B2B, it's kind of bullshit. B2C is kind of bullshit. It's like the most personal connections you have. Yeah, you need to have you cross your T's, dot your I's, especially when you're writing copy. But it's one of those things where you do need to blur the lines a bit as far as the dynamic goes, and that pays off. Does that make sense? Absolutely.
And I mean, and to clarify for people that are new to the show, if you haven't heard me geek out over copy before, that is basically sales writing, like advertising writing. And Patrick is an expert at YouTube advertising. So he knows and understands advertising copy very well. And it's still a very creative thing, which is pretty awesome. What I love about that point that you just made is when you pay attention to those slick marketers with the Lambos and the millions and you make millions overnight, hint, bullshit, never happens unless you're scamming people, which that's not the kind of business that Angie teaches. So if you're here to make that, you're in the wrong place.
Well, if it smells like bullshit and looks like bullshit, it probably bullshit.
Is. Yep. The fact that like when you follow those guys, you get this impression that you have to have this veneer in order to make money. You have to have this wall between you and your clientele. And especially for us small business practitioners, like I think the world is moving toward authenticity in a big way because those slick, polished guys have screwed over enough people and pissed off enough people that the trust is really a factor now. And Wish, God, all of the freaking Wish ads that you see out there, and you think you're buying a pretty shirt and you get doll clothes. Like
those are the best.
People want to trust the people that they're working with. And yeah, I don't advocate that you share with everybody what you're going through all the time. One of our mentors, Kevin Rogers, from Copy Chief and Copy Chief Live, he phrased it in this way that I just thought was genius. Show scars, not open wounds. So it's totally okay to share what you're going through and what you learned from it with a little distance and perspective, exactly like Patrick's doing right here, right now with us, because you're not separate from your business, and what's happening in your life and in the world is connected with how you're performing in your business. So taking that time to take care of you and be a person and relate with the other people that you're doing business with is just, so good. So good.
Well, that's so key. That's a brilliant point. If this were an ongoing issue right now, if I were in the midst of trying to find out what the outcome of that, I'll say disagreement, because also it's kind of like, it's just a disagreement.
Such a polite way to put it.
Yeah, the disagreement over tea. It goes British. Well, I don't know everything proper is British, but if I were in the midst of going through that challenge, we would not be talking about right now, because again, this medium is not something where you need to have open loops. We're not writing a multi-stage email sequence where we're going to keep people hooked to like, what's going to happen on the next episode?
No HBO cliffhangers.
Right. I can close the loop on this as here's what I learned from that. And I think it's like pointing to a scar in your forearm, like Kevin has mentioned, showing scars. Oh, well, I got that because I was knife fighting ninjas while I was, skydiving over Belize or whatever, also another HBO series in the works.
Sign me up.
The really interesting connection. And so I'm go with me on this one. This is pretty interesting. So one of the clients, they'll remain nameless. This is like a Kevin Bacon moment. One of my favorite clients that I've now had for over a year and a half now, I think about a year and a half, something like that. I met through a connection that I made through RFL. Connected with their CEO, got along famously. connected with their VP of marketing. She loved the way that I thought about, YouTube. They were wanting to get into YouTube ads. They have become one of my largest clients consistently month after month. They leave me alone. I rarely hear from them because they know I'm going to do the work, because I show up in a very authentic way. And my presence is not one of like all good news. I show up when it's bad news, and here's what I think we should do next. I'm a perspective of, okay, this is what's going on in the ad platform. And they appreciate that so much. I give them flexibility in how we work together. There's a performance model to where when I work hard, it pays off. And that was just like, I'll check in with them on a regular basis. And that has led to them referring me to other people because they love how authentic I am. And when I talk to these people and I talk about the no bullshit approach of like, hey, you're not ready. Here's what you need to do to get ready. I was speaking with a now client who wasn't ready a couple months ago. I said, here's what you need to have in place before I come in. And I was talking with them. Gosh, was it last week? The days all run together. Recently, it was within the last week or two. Anyway, they got on the phone. I was like, hey, how are we doing with this stuff? And they said, oh, we got all the stuff. We're ready for YouTube ads. Okay, good. Sign the contract. We got going, whatever. And I was talking with a guy, and he goes, your approach that you gave us before we came on board with you, like you need to like sell that. And I talked to and I have this document that I've created. Like, this is the check. Like, you need all these before you come to me for YouTube ads. And it's funny because I teach this on my membership training. People want to learn how to do YouTube ads. I teach that to them. Mm-hmm. And he said, man, like this would benefit businesses as well. And so I'm launching on March. Is it okay if I plug this a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have come up with, it's very cliche. I call it the traffic ready system. And all it is a process that you take any business through to basically knock off the checklist of, are you ready for, first and foremost is, are you ready to maximize the traffic you're probably already getting and marginalizing? And are you ready for paid traffic through any medium? Whether it doesn't matter. It could be an advertorial, could be Taboola, whatever the traffic is, doesn't matter. Are you ready to receive that? Meaning, do you have offers? Do people know what you do? Is it clear the benefits of your service? Do you have email? All the different things like that checklist. I'm in the early stages of completing the draft of the book. Optimistically March 1st, which really means for those listening, and it's after March 1st, April 1st. So once that's ready, I'm going to make that available to people. And
awesome.
Yeah, I'm going to charge like $5 for it, whatever, but I'm going to give that whole traffic ready system. That would not have happened had I not had the connection of, RFL connecting to a client, the way that I've shown up in a very human, authentic way, being the confidant and not just the, I'm going to mash buttons for you and I did my job. Don't bug me because I did my job kind of thing. Mm-hmm. That led to a referral to a client that gave me the epiphany of, you could really help a lot of people if you put the system in a way that other people could take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Again,
and
I know that's a lot of unpacking, but.
No, I think that's great. And the funny thing about this, so we're recording this in February to give it context. So when you're listening to it, obviously it's going to be past when Patrick has launched, and hopefully we'll be able to circle back and update with some really cool results or something. But I think this is the power. And Patrick's mentioned RFL a couple times. That's how we met. I was a coach, and I still am a coach for this program called Real Free Life, which teaches you how to build a business, like writing specifically business that really supports the lifestyle that you want, not just like $1 million Lambos, but if I want to spend time with my kids, I want to take Fridays off. Like, how do you design a business to get you to that goal? So that's what RFL means. And that's how we met. But, you made a connection in one place like RFL, and you followed that connection and you have conversations and you develop that relationship, and they lead you to another place, and you follow that because it feels good. This is like a series of just chance encounters, following your gut, making a decision to see what happens. And then you look back one day and go, oh shit, I built a business. Like I wasn't even really aware that I was doing that, as opposed to the traditional approach that people teach. Like, you got to sit down and you got to write a business plan and a SWOT analysis. Fuck your SWOT analysis. I don't care about that. Not unless you're
your
seeking,
SWOT analysis.
only if you're seeking VC funding, which don't sell part of your
Don't ever
business
do
to
that.
someone else. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't ever do VC funding. In my humble opinion, some people do, but yeah, it's funny. The SWOT analysis. Oh my gosh. I've had people, can you send me a proposal? Yeah, here's a proposal. How about I run your ads when you're traffic ready and I make you some money? How's that for a proposal? What does that look like? I don't do proposals. Because nobody reads them. Like, I'm going to spend a week writing some bullshit proposal that you're not going to listen to or read or any of that. How about you just look at my testimonials and take a chance?
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We part ways as friends. There's no need to get at each other's throats about this. If you don't like me, you don't like me. I like
the
me.
thing with RFL, I went into RFL. Yeah, I mean, I like you too, Angie. If people don't like you, then they have
What's
permission
not to like about me?
Well, they have permission to like something else that's not kick-ass.
This is staying in. This is staying in for sure.
For a written transcript of today's podcast, send $2 to Merkle. I got into RFL because I was working too damn much trying to do the agency model, and I won't say in my own defense, but in my own mindset at the time, I was looking at some of those bro marketers going, man, those guys are 2-step funneling with a webinar and making $100,000 a month. Man, I need to look at doing that. And it's like, oh yeah, this is all bullshit. And then RFL came through and it's like, okay, how can I get better at copy and, sharpen iron with other people that have a similar mindset? And it's funny. This is another thing that I think is really, really important. Second to murdering your arrogance is understanding that if you want to be something, hang out with 5 people who do it really well, you'll become the 6th. If you want to get really good at copy, hang out with 5 people that are really good at copy, you'll become the 6th. Right?
They can't see me over here doing my amen cheer, but
and it's the same thing with the bro marketers. You want to be the just scummiest, low down, and you know who I'm talking about. The people that are like if anybody identifies as millionaire at a certain age, they may have done it. But I can say if you want to live your life for the next 10 years and look back and go, oh, did I really wear parachute pants? then follow those guys. But if you want to look back 10 years from now and go, man, I'm still doing the same thing and enjoying what I do. I've got time freedom. I'm working with clients that I actually enjoy talking to when they call me, because I know they're not calling me to berate me, then hang out with people that do that. That was what RFL was for me. That's what Copy Chief still is. Kevin's one of those guys to where he's just an authentic dude. And it comes back to, hanging out. Like, I want my clients have to pass the beer model, right? Do I want to have a beer with them? Yeah. Everybody I work with, I'd have a beer with. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And it's so key. So again, I really wish that I could pack more in on a single episode, but I mean, if I were to sum it up, I would say, if you're in your 20s or 30s, you're a copywriter, or you want to get better at copy for Facebook ads or YouTube ads, number one, make that your focus, because I can tell you now, my shifting, even over the past 12 months, has become more on the messaging on these platforms and less about the audience pushing the buttons, because all the AI stuff is taking over. So your job, if you want to become really, really good at YouTube ads, is eliminating overwhelm for clients. It's not running YouTube ads. It's eliminating overwhelm, helping them connect a really good message to a really good offer, and you just grease the chute for them on YouTube ads because they don't want to do it. You could make a really healthy living, really healthy living. And you can do the same with Facebook ads, but it's not about like the audiences and the pixels and all the stuff. It's more about the messaging, which is why you should be really damn good at copy. But murder your arrogance, I think, is the first thing. 20s to 30s right now, murder your arrogance. And if you want help doing that, I'm happy to help you murder your arrogance. You can email me personally. Tell me, tell me what you need help with. I'm happy to help put you into perspective of what's really important.
Well, and
I mean that in genuine nature.
No, I know that. I trust you. And to be clear, like, I don't think necessarily making 7 figures is an automatic marker for arrogance, because Lord knows I want to be 7 figures. And I semi-jokingly state that one day I'm going to be Oprah's favorite thing. And that's one of my goals. But I know my big reason why behind what I want to make 7 figures.
Yes.
One is just to see if I can do it. Like, I just want to see if I can. I don't care about the
and
Lambos.
buy more beignets with gold flecks on them.
I know, right? Right now, as we're recording this, I'm in New Orleans, and I have been like sugar bombing myself with beignets, which is fantastic.
Yeah, Angie's been making me want to eat my phone every day when I look at her feed. And just like, I wonder if this comes through on the new iPhone. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Don't do it.
Smell-o-vision and taste-o-vision. So it's not flat condemnation if you want to make seven figures, but like I know one of the big reasons, like I said, is to see if I can do it. First of all, I just want to see. It's a curiosity. And second, if I can do it, I want to see how much I can give. I want to be like an angel investor. I want to leave $1,000 tips at restaurants just to help somebody. Like the wealth for me comes in spreading it around and sharing with other people and lifting other people up, because I really, really do believe that a rising tide lifts all boats.
Well, so contribution is an incredible wealth factor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that like just from like feeling wealthy and the riches and wealthy, there's a difference. Okay.
Yes.
Time wealth is what I'm after.
Mm-hmm.
Like once I have a certain, a monthly top end that I hit where it's like, cool. If I can do that without putting more to your point about the seven figures, like if I can hit a higher income goal and not increase my time, increase the efficiencies with the time I'm doing, like, can I pull these levers and make a bit more and still keep the level of service up and not sacrifice time with my family? Cool. But I'm after time wealth. I've got as of this recording, I've got a 10-year-old and 13-year-old that I love and adore. And thank God they still think the world of me. And fishing, camping, trips, like that's what matters to me. I don't care about the Tesla. I mean, yeah, sure, it'd be cool to have. And if I've got extra cash and I want to buy one, fine. Mm-hmm. That's not, it's not the ultimate thing. It's been said that when a good thing becomes the ultimate thing, it becomes a destructive thing.
Yeah. This stuff isn't the marker of success. It really isn't. The
stuff is just stuff.
It's just stuff and you can't take it with you. And so that's, knowing your big why and what drives you. Do you want to be a recognized industry expert? Do you want to have a comfortable living? Do you want to hole up in a cabin, off the grid and only emerge once a year to do one big sale? And then you've made your money for the year and you disappear. Like whatever you want to build your business to be, you can. You absolutely can. It doesn't have to look like anybody else's.
You have that permission. If that is your kick-ass, like
exactly.
If that's your kick-ass scenario, then we're giving you permission to do that, right? Mm-hmm. There you go. I'm good. What is your kick-ass scenario? Write it down, and you have now been given permission because, again, it's not quantity, it's quality.
Exactly.
Not to drop more. Can we drop more cliches? I mean, your bullet point, your podcast bullet pointer is going to be like, can you guys stop them at like 10,000 words? And I'm not even. I know.
The emails and all of the promotions for this are going to be so long, but we did drop a lot of it. And so that actually brings us to a very natural conclusion. We just dropped a whole ton on you for everybody that was listening. And I hope you got a lot of good value out of that. Patrick, why don't you tell everybody how to find you if they want more information on what you do?
Yeah. So if you would like to pre-register, well, depending on when you're hearing this, it might be available, but if you'd like to grab the Traffic Ready book, you can go to trafficreadybook.com. And that's going to have all kinds of cool stuff on there. I'm probably going to be putting it for $5 and it's just going to be a digital copy. I'm not doing the free plus shipping bullshit, whatever. Incredible value. If you don't want to spend $5 to transform your business, don't buy it. Mm-hmm. But $5, you get all my best stuff on there. Check it out. If you'd like to explore my membership where I teach Google, I teach the Google ads. Please don't cut that out. Please leave that in there. I
want to keep that in so that people know that you don't have to be polished all the time. Do good business.
90% of it is showing up. But I'm also a tech geek. So technically I'm not supposed to be able to speak except like in just like low mutters, and that's my stapler. But if you'd like to explore learning how to do YouTube ads and learning how to do video ads, I give all of my best training on my membership at getyobooked.com. That's get. The idea being we will help you get booked with clients and customers. That's the whole premise. So getyobooked.com. You can check that out. And if you have any questions, you can actually email me personally because I do respond to them. Patrick@getyobooked.com.
That's fantastic. And I second that. I highly recommend Patrick. Super, super smart dude. Really I don't want to say dumb down, but I'm going to say like dumb down the tech for me so that I can understand it, because I'm a true creative, and helps me make sense of all of the technical mumbo jumbo, which I super appreciate him for. So
thanks, my friend.
Patrick, thank you so much for joining me today, and we will talk soon.
My pleasure. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.
So that is it. Another awesome episode of Permission to Kick Ass on the books. If you want to know more about the show, if you want to know more about me, Angie Coley, and the mission I'm on to help entrepreneurs punch fear in the face and do big, bold things, then head on over to permissiontokickass.com. That is all one word together, permissiontokickass.com. Make sure to sign up for my email list so that you know whenever there's a hot, fresh, and ready podcast episode out for you. And also on Mondays, I like to send out a little newsletter called Kick Monday's Ass. I'm sure you're totally surprised by that. So thank you for being here with me today. I'm Angie Coley. Make sure that you share this with a friend that needs to hear this message today. Like it, share it, comment wherever you're listening to this today, and let's go kick some ass.